Hello, everyone. Welcome to NST Podcast. My name is Amalina Kamal, and I'm joined by
Fuad Nizam.
and we're from the news desk. So, Fuad, I have a question for you. You know, with state elections coming and everything, I just want you to go back to the past a bit and look into how did you source for your information during GE15?
All right, GE15 was actually my first time going to the polls
Interesting.
and voting.
Mm-mm.
So for me, I would source my information from social media.
Social media.
Yep.
What platform specifically?
Specifically, there's two that I would go to. It's one, Instagram, if it relates to anything with visuals and pictures. And the next one would be Twitter.
Why Twitter?
Twitter, it's a compressed format when you do short updates on anything regarding the GE15.
And
So-
Instagram?
Instagram, because it's in visuals.
Okay. I mean, for full disclosure, I also I also read my news or wherever I get my information via Instagram in the past as well. And it's only because it's visually driven. But I want to talk more about in terms of like with the attention span that social media brings, right? So for you yourself, what's your attention span when you digest information on social media?
It would be as short as 30 seconds.
30 seconds?
Yep.
30 seconds?
Yes, 30 short seconds.
So I guess it's interesting that we have our guest here in the studio today. Welcome Thomas Fan, who is per se chairperson.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Amalina and Fuad.
So Thomas, we give you a little bit of like background a bit in terms of what today's topic will be about, and it's obviously on social media, the information on it, and how do we combat fake news, right, as we utilize it responsibly. First of all, how would you like us to address you?
Thomas will be fine.
Thomas
Thank
would be
you.
fine. Okay,
Yeah.
heard that right?
Thomas.
Okay, all right.
So no need
anyway.
to call uncle or anything.
Oh. Don't worry. Okay. Do you have any questions for our guests?
Well, to be honest, for me, G15 saw a new playing field in the sense that we see that social media has been the forefront for political parties to campaign on.
Correct.
And the emergence of social media has also brought a rebirth in sociology, addressing politics and sociology of use. And we have to say that experts have agreed that content leading up to the state polls this coming August is vital in influencing voters. Let me quote a study by Bridget Welsh, which she said that a study done after GE15 said that Perikatan managed to snag 37% of the votes among those under 30, the highest proportion among all coalition. So, how do you see campaigning on social media, and what are some of the risks that you have seen?
Yeah. I think social media has been playing a increasingly important role. I would say even as far back as 2008 election, where we begin to see the beginning of Facebooks and WhatsApp and those platforms. But obviously, from one election cycle to another, we see really a very significant role, because prior to that, of course, we have the mainstream media, the RTM and even the Straits Times and all. But I think more and more social media has been dominant, especially at the last election, GE15. I think TikTok is really a new platform and a new force to be reckoned with, and for the coming election as well.
I mean, yeah, I just want to add to that, right? I mean, TikTok being a newcomer in the social media platform, but I think based on Digital 2023 Malaysia data report, it says that TikTok actually has about 19.3 million users. Basically, this is users in Malaysia, and it's about 59.9% across all the board. So that's pretty high,
Pretty
right?
dominant, yeah.
And if you're familiar with TikTok, it's literally just even less than 30 seconds. It's
Right.
like 10 seconds like that. So how does that impact, the reliability and credibility of the information that's being shared online? How does Bersih look into that?
Right. It is new to us. Just we have to confess. Though we have a TikTok account, it's not taken off in any big way, but we are learning and to understand the profile of the user. Yeah, I mean, 30 second, how do you convey a message, a truth? I think it's both challenging and also a worrisome thing, because it's very easy to put forth just half the truth, but it's not enough sometimes to influence people. Yeah, so I think we are looking into that seriously, in how to do we convey the correct information in such a short attention span as TikTok. Yeah.
For Bersih, do you guys also have like data for the past election that highlights, threats, risk, opportunities when it comes to like utilizing social media to disseminate information, especially during like crucial periods such as elections?
No, we don't have our own data, because what we do as Bersih is really we monitor on the ground campaigning during the charamas, and we also do some online monitoring. But to confess, the last election we focused more on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. We
Do enlighten us, like
Yeah.
what you found out, I suppose.
Yeah.
Kan?
yeah. We found out most parties actually migrated. They spend money on this social media platform, buying ad time, and even YouTube as well. So I think that is something that is positive. There is a more level playing field in that sense, because they are not as regulated by government as, say, the mainstream media or the broadcast media. So that is positive. So we were monitoring that, and we see that all parties were quite equally represented. But I think we really kind of overlooked TikTok, because it's really like the new kid on the block as far as social media platform is concerned. But I think one coalition, in particular Perikatan Nasional, really saw the potential of that and utilized that to their benefit. So credit to them for that.
But also it got TikTok under fire as well, I suppose, because recent developments have said that TikTok has announced its own like new policies or community guidelines in a way whereby they require government and politicians' accounts specifically to be verified, and they would ban videos aimed at campaign fundraising, meaning if you're a politician or you're attached to you have a political affiliation, an active one, so you can't boost your own content, but you can grow your content organically. My question to that would be like, what are your thoughts on denying citizens access to free information or freedom of choice of sorts like that lah?
Yeah, I think my organization and myself personally, we are not so much for kind of restrictions, on any platform. We prefer more freedom, but we also understand that freedom doesn't mean freedom to incite hate, freedom to incite violence, or freedom to propagate falsehood. I think there are laws against all these things, and we also want to see a social media platform that are responsible to kind of like regulate this area. And I think TikTok, being a new kid on the block, probably started off with less regulation, and because of that, it was abused. A lot of false information, a lot of hate speech was put on their platform. So now they are waking up to that, and they are trying to regulate. I think the same for Facebook earlier. In the earlier days of Facebook, they were accused of kind of promoting extremism, for example. So now they are controlling it better. So I think TikTok is no difference.
Okay.
That's quite an interesting insight as well. So, speaking about artificial intelligence, we have AI tools nowadays, right? So, do you think there's a threat that it will bring during the past and even the up and coming crucial election period? Do you think it will present as a threat?
When I suppose when he mentioned AI here is like, the superimposing of people's images and stuff. And we have seen that,
Deepfakes.
Yeah, the deepfakes happening and stuff like that.
yeah.
How like what kind of threat does it pose, especially when it comes to, verified information, right?
Yeah, I mean, it is a threat. You can imagine that even in the old days of before AI, people try to get actors who looks like certain politician to act out certain very sensational or very provocative scenes and or things like that. But now with AI, you can literally kind of generate videos, even not just images, videos of a certain person speaking, saying certain thing.
No, we have seen that. Yeah, we
they,
have seen
they
that,
didn't
especially
say.
TikTok. Yeah.
But during election where everything is so instantaneous with social media, there is a real danger that certain message that was not said could be put out at the last minute. Say, before you go to the poll, a video go viral of so and so says this thing. I think there is a real challenge, and we have to be prepared for that, to deal with this thing, because by the time the other party deny it, it may be too late. So I think the danger is real with AI.
I mean, with regards to if that, like, the situation that you just mentioned already happened, right? So apparently, like in Philippines, a particular social media platform also work very closely. I mean, given that we're talking about state elections, they work very closely with the election body there, and I'm not too sure if any social media agencies have done sort engagements or even attempted to create one. What's your view on that? If like social media providers, the industry players, work closely with our own election body in terms of curbing fake news. Obviously, it's a good thing, but to what extent, right?
Yeah, that is a fine balance. I think we do want social media platform, like Meta, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok to be responsible, and by that they probably need to work with the authorities, whether it's election commission or other groups. Yet at the same time, I don't want to see a situation where election commission, especially those that are not fully independent of government control, to be the censorship board, where it kind of like restricts certain politicians but not others. We don't want to go back to those days where the long tentacles of authoritarian government extend to social media as well, where they can censor and restrict opponents. Yet it is so when it comes to working with election commission, for example, I would prefer that the social media platform just focus on election processes and laws, and not go beyond that, like they don't like the speech of a certain politician.
Yeah, because that's very trivial, right?
Or the view of a certain politician, and the election commission has the power to kind of like censor that. I think that will be going beyond their scope as an election commission. But yet at the same time, I know that social media platform like Facebook or TikTok are reaching out to responsible non-partisan players to know, because you can't expect TikTok to know the local condition, the local rules.
Not just TikTok, all sort
Yeah.
of social media
Exactly.
providers.
They will want to work with trusted partners to be able to say this is going beyond what is acceptable, or in certain languages that they don't understand, Bahasa Malaysia for example, to be able to flag certain thing and to remove certain content that are inciting hate or inciting violence. So I know that this media platform are reaching out and working together with some of these groups.
But the fine line is when you engagement is great, transparency is great, but when there's censorship, that is what
Yeah.
we do not want, at least.
We want it to be correctly applied, you know. We don't want it to be abused. To confess to you, I mean, even Brese several years ago, our programming, you know, we went on Facebook Live, for example, and I can say that, you know, our content are pretty not harmful. We are not trying to incite anything. We have a political dialogue between normally politicians from both sides, and our programming usually are interrupted. How? By people who complain to Facebook, saying that, you know, these are harmful, against community guidelines, when they are clearly not, and our interrupted by all these things.
Tergendala,
Then
yeah.
we have to kind of reboot and start again, until we reach out to Facebook and explain and show them what we're doing is really not violating community guideline. You know, so people do abuse that. You know, so even social media platform, like all these people, they have to be able to work with trusted partner before they flag something or remove a content. Yeah.
But because it's still very much a chicken and egg situation of sorts, right? So
Right.
the users or the account holders might have the power to abuse it, but also those who submit their reports can also abuse it based on their
Abuse
own
the
bias.
process,
Yes.
yes,
yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So Thomas, I got something a little bit off the cuff here.
Sure.
So we're talking about political parties and everything, and how it's transcending into social media and how people digest information. So how does Bersih, in this sense, make sure that for the upcoming state elections, that these echo chambers of people where they are confined to this one view of certain matters, for you
Certain
to
ideology of
for you
sorts to also be
to-
open.
for you to
Is it?
penetrate and also get the information out through those echo chambers.
Well, you know, contrary to a lot of popular beliefs that Bersih is all powerful, we are not. We are not powerful at all, especially when it comes to creating echo chambers. Those are I think social media platform, they have their algorithm. And the algorithm, I think, are the one that actually drive people to certain positions and certain views. I think what we can do, not just Bersih, but any other media platform that are responsible, is to put forth other narratives, put off correct information, and to provide a balanced view, so that there is a chance that people are not kind of locked into their echo chamber, but they have a chance to hear the other side and realize that, hey, actually, we need to be balanced, about things. So I think on our part, we provide correct information about election process through our website, through our social media platform, and we try to kind of like penetrate all sides by giving them those correct information. Yeah.
So what do you say about people around my age? I'm 25. So
That's
some
still
of my
very
friends
young.
have expressed they have political fatigues because one election after another election after another election, and all the political ruckus that happens in between. So what do you say to those people that have what do you call it, political fatigue in that sense?
Well,
Too much information is also not good,
it
right?
is true. we are overloaded with information. But when it comes to election, we always want to encourage a higher voter turnout. Another word, participation. Democracy is only meaningful if there are participation by voters. You can elect a government based on 10% voter turnout. It would still be legitimate because that is the process, but would it have the full legitimacy? In other words, the mandate, the endorsement of the citizen, it will be shaky. All right. So high voter turnout is important. So the last election, we ran a campaign called Vote Future, because the message is simply you are voting for your future. If you don't vote, someone else will decide your future. So for this 6 state election, we tweak that a little bit. We call it Vote Local. Local spelled as L-O-K-A-L. In a sense that we want people to understand that by voting for the state government, you are actually voting for your local government, because the state government is the one that appoint your local government, who's your mayor, who's your local councillor, and these are the people that directly impact your living condition, your living surrounding. Whether your sampa is collected or not depend on the state government who appoints the thing. So this is important. State election, contrary to what people think, are not as important. It is important. If you don't want your sampa to pile up in front of your house, make sure you have a state government that is has a good governance and focus on efficiency and less corruption.
So that's a social media brief for you, for all you influencers out there. I think, this sort of information, why state elections is actually as important as the big elections, right? We don't see that much on social media right now.
We don't see much discourse on that.
Much discourse. No, we only see like what this party is saying, what that party is saying, it's more of campaigning as opposed to like actual political literacy, like uplifting that, right? So whatever you just mentioned, actually just kind of.
I think right now this state election has been framed by both sides as a referendum on the federal government, a referendum election. But no, it is a state election, and we cannot let state government get away with like, oh, it's not about us, it's about the federal government. It is the state government. They are the one who is going to make sure that our state and our local authorities are properly run. And it's important to us. We are paying rates, we are local taxes, but we have no say right now on who is running the local government. But this is our chance, hold the government accountable, vote for the state government that will be responsible to make sure they perform.
Earlier, outside of the show, you mentioned about our voter turnout. I mean, based on past, based on the past elections, state elections, usually voter turnout would still be lesser than it's because of this lack of awareness, right?
Normally about 10 to 15% lower than the national election.
That's quite a huge number.
Right. It is a huge number, and apparently, like for this time around, apparently there's going to be about 600k worth of like youth voters. Do you think that number is going to be less sad?
Well, overall, I think most pundits will predict a voter turnout of about 60 to 65%, because we had the last general election at 74%, right? So you minus 10, 64%. And but the other, I think, myth that I want to bust over here is the youth vote. Do you know that the last election, G15, the youth vote were actually the highest among all categories?
I would totally agree on that.
I agree.
I mean, the national average was 74, but the 18 to 22, the new voters, they were 78% on average.
Would you attribute or credit that to social media as well?
I would agree also, because it would be attributed to social media. Because I see like my sisters, my friends, all like posing with their fingers dipped with ink. So it's a pull factor as well. When you have done your responsibility towards the country, right?
Right. Yeah.
So I think we misread the young people. I think they are interested in this nation, in the future of this nation, and they are excited to be able to play a role through voting. But it is the middle group that may be a little bit lethargic, apathetic or whatever, that are even some groups less than 70% turnout. Yeah.
Okay, we still have a little bit more time here. I just want to understand, like maybe from Thomas, because you're from Bersih, and then you've seen many change of governments. We've seen it too.
We've all seen it. We've all seen it.
I mean, even relative how young you are, but we've seen the change
I've seen
in
a
government.
few as well.
But I just want to say, like, okay, when we talk about fake news, right? What is the, how do I say, the repercussions that we don't want happening, especially if we rely on information at face value?
Right.
What sort of like implications have you seen that actually has, pushed our society or retracted our society to be backwards of sorts?
Yeah, thank you
Less
for the
democratic.
question. It's such an important question, I think the fake news is not harmless. In fact, it can be extremely harmful. I think two things that I come to mind. One is I think it undermines during election the people's confidence in the election. If the fake news attacks the EC or undermine the process, like we encountered during G15, all kind of fake news was coming out about the election process, and we had to very quickly address them, because when you lose confidence in the election process, you lose confidence in the outcome of the election. Whoever become government, you don't have trust. And when you don't have trust, I think you just would not cooperate or work with the government. Whatever the government say, you don't trust. I think that's bad. But the other thing that fake news does, and we are very concerned, and we should be very concerned, is that it actually divides communities. When you have politics that are driven by identity politics, whether it's race or religion or royalty, the 3 R's, election come and go, but the effect of those hate speech remains. And what you find is that the communities are polarized. For no reason they are suspicious of each other. For no reason they even hate each other. And what's wrong with that? It can lead to violence. You look at some of the countries in our surrounding, whether it is in Myanmar, whether it's Sri Lanka, or what, they ended up in civil war as a result of, you can say it's harmless, it's just for election to win votes, but it's a slippery slope that leads to, I think, chaos and even violence in our country if it's not checked. So I think all of us have a role to play, to be responsible, to make sure that we don't go down that slippery slope that we talk about.
Any more questions from your side that you want to ask our?
I've been enlightened by Thomas's.
He has been
thoughts
enlightened
and
by you, Thomas.
And I learned from you also about young people. 30 seconds, wow.
Yeah, sometimes less.
Sometimes even less.
Yeah, I've heard that now, even because of the scrolling time, right? So even for the sake of impressions, it should be eye-catching enough within 3 seconds. Because, I mean, we talk about the speed of the badminton when you play, right? But we talk about the speed of our fingers when you scroll out like that. So
Yeah, right.
Just for a fact, last week only my time spent on my phone is around 9 hours per day. So you can imagine how the youngsters today, 9 hours a day.
How much of that is related to work? No, but we're in the process of being informed of sorts, right? So talking about in the process of being informed, I mean, earlier we talked about the repercussions of or the implications of fake news, but I just want to just bring some sort of like good news to our audience that people in rural areas, especially orang asli as well, they are in probably they are more susceptible to fake news, right? So apparently, UiTM undergraduates has created an initiative to help this community address fake news by developing critical thinking and allowing these people to distinguish between truth and lies. So, in your opinion, would you love to see more of those being shadowed and shouldered by student bodies?
Most definitely. I think the thing that give me personally a lot of hope is, like I say, the interest and passion of the young people. in the country, you know. And I think if they can play a role to kind of like negate this impact of fake news. No, I mean, politicians sometimes do their level best to divide us, but on our part, we can do our level best to unite by building bridges to different communities around Asli. You know, I mean, so easily overlooked because in terms of electoral impact, their votes percentage-wise so small. So not many people would actually would care for them because they won't make a big difference. But I think people on the ground, the young people especially, can make a difference by reaching out, building bridges to these communities and to each other. You know, because at the end of the day, our blood is red. Our concern for the country is the same. We want better jobs. We want better economy. We want better education. These are common concerns. Yeah.
And what better way to build bridges from the people who actually utilize these tools themselves, right?
Right.
Yes.
So, okay, thank you everybody. My name is Zamalina Kamal. Thank you so much,
Thank
Thomas
you.
Fan. Thank you, Fuad. We'll see you in the next round of NST Podcast for state elections. Bye.
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 We just have to talk.
Thank you.
Thank you.